Well, this is a pretty big box, ain't it? So, this is a Lionel set from 1987, and I'm going to bet a lot of you have never heard of this set. This set actually barely fit in the back seat of my car, if you can believe it. I don't know if that's a testament to how big the box is or how small my car is, but I know that logo on it is going to get some of you real excited. Lionel produced these limited sets starting in the 1970s as a premium collector's set. The earliest one I could find was this Milwaukee Road one from 1976. They released most of these sets between 1985 to 1990, although they would take a break in 1986. And don't worry, Lionel, I hate 1986 too. Every year the set would be a contemporary road at the time, with the exception of a Milwaukee Road Hiawatha and the Chessie System set, both released in 1988, the year after Chessie became CSX, so I'll chalk that one up to it being intended to be a contemporary road. So this set is dated 1987 at the top, and is obviously the Conrail set. It's me, go figure. So these sets always include exclusive locomotives and cars that you wouldn't find anywhere else in the Lionel catalog. Opening up the box, I see smaller boxes. This was pretty commonplace back in the day for train sets. Even Tyco did this, and boy do I wish we kept doing this. It is so much easier to put this kind of stuff on a shelf, and they're all standard Lionel boxes from the time, so they'll look nice on a shelf with other Lionel boxes. I would show you if I had any other Lionel boxes. To preface, this is a scale set. It does not fit in with Lionel's traditional and iconic 027 locomotives and rolling stock. Let's start from the front, as usual. The locomotive included this set is an SD40. It's not an SD40-2, and this locomotive was not released that often. It was mostly used in their limited sets, but would see a release in the 80s and would also see a re-release in the 2000s. This was the only release of this tooling in Conrail colors. Upon opening the box, the owner has to fit the plow to the front of the locomotive. It's a simple fit with a nice strong friction fit. This locomotive is claimed to be scale, although it sports dubious proportions. Like, why is it so wide? It sports a sheet metal frame, dual motors, magnet traction, and a horn. The locomotive body itself is incredibly basic. It is almost entirely plastic, except for the handrails, which are all metal and attached to long pieces of sheet metal that go down the sides. The trucks are mostly die-cast metal, although the steps on the end are plastic. The locomotive sports a classic and reliable metal version of the Lionel coupler on the front and rear. The locomotive weighs in at 3 pounds and 12.6 ounces, making it about 10 ounces lighter than the Williams GP30 we looked at a couple weeks ago. There's not that much to this locomotive. The most interesting thing I really have to show about it is this 3/64 inch sized hex screw. I'll get into that more later. Moving on to the rolling stock, this first car is this ACF 2-bay covered hopper, and just like the locomotive, it's pretty basic. All the details are here, and I think it very much retains that chunky O-gauge charms in some ways, while retaining the rest of the details for a more scale-like car. Not much to say about it, and this car is actually still made up to this day. Next car in this set is this box car, and it's pretty standard fare for a box car, with opening doors and all. It's pretty normal Lionel box car, nothing special apart from the Conrail paint job. Here's a flat car, and it actually comes with removable stakes, although I've elected to not put mine in to prevent damage to them and the car. I cannot currently find an identical tooling in Lionel's current lineup, although I found one that is quite similar looking. The gondola is pretty similar to the other two cars. It does have a removable coal load that doesn't look that great. It's much too smooth to give off a realistic effect, so I usually run this one without its coal load. This gondola does not appear to be produced anymore anywhere in the Lionel catalog. Rounding out the revenue cars, this blue steel reefer is very similar to the boxcars shown earlier, minus the opening doors. I also cannot find this car in Lionel's current lineup. All of these cars have metal sprung trucks, which is a very welcome feature on a larger scale. The springs are quite stiff, so the springs don't actually impact performance. The car bodies are also entirely plastic, and the lettering on them looks incredibly good. Last car in this set is this caboose, and boy is it a weird tooling they chose for this one. I'll give you a moment to figure out what makes it so weird. Why is it a wooden caboose? The limited sets all have a steel wide vision caboose, and I'm not sure why Lionel went with a wooden one, as Conrail never owned any wooden cabooses, to my knowledge, although they did have steel wide vision cabooses. The caboose has a lighted interior, although the marker lights do not illuminate, and you have to fit the smokestack yourself. Once again, is a simple fit, and the clips on the bottom make it feel super sturdy. Unlike the rest of the cars, this one is not sprung, although the trucks are die-cast and the couplers are open from this tab on the bottom. Weird. However, like the rest of the cars, it is a pretty much all plastic construction from the trucks up. So, about the screw I mentioned earlier. This tiny screw is your oiling point. It's not exactly intuitive, especially since it has to be far enough in, but you can't tighten the whole thing or else you'll lock up the drive. My Locomotive had no oil in it to start with, so it didn't run out of the box, and I had to wait until I could locate a screwdriver that could fit this tiny 3/64 inch hole. With oil put in and put on the track, it doesn't exactly set the performance world on fire. It pulls fine, but nowhere near the levels I was expecting. It supposedly has magnet traction, but if it does, I really can't feel it. It also just runs quite slow. It's great for scale operation, but Lionel sort of has a reputation of running at Mach 1, and this just doesn't feel right to see any Lionel product going this slow. The Locomotive is capable of navigating 031 curves, although I think I can hear it binding a bit, so I pretty much run this Locomotive exclusively on 042. The caboose in this set is light, and I think it looks alright. I personally prefer the lighting in this K-line caboose. And it looks alright, when it works. I'm not sure if the bulb is yelling or if there's something else going on in there, but it seems to not be consistently on. This set is supposed to be special, but I'm not exactly blown away by what I'm seeing. It's a set for the collectors, and I think it's pretty clear to most of my audience that I'm not exactly a collector. I'm pretty much an operator exclusively, and it's neat for sure, especially as a Conrail fanatic, but I feel like the asking prices for this set are a bit too much for me as someone who just wants to play trains. This is one of the few Conrail sets that was offered over the years, and honestly, I think I'd rather have any of the others. My personal favorite would have to be this one, the 1997 service exclusive with patched over cars from Pennsylvania and New York Central. Let me know if you want me to look at that one in the future, because that one has very much piqued my interest. Lionel's Conrail Limited at the end of the day is nothing too special. It's a part of a line of sets that already weren't anything too special and pretty much intended only as collector's pieces. And if you like that, more power to you, but for all the operators out there, there's just better choices.